Anyone else feel that when I walk in here, it's like an episode of Groundhog Day? I loved these shoes. I'm mad about it too. Get a load of this. Yeah, that's the stuff we gotta deal with in Winnipeg. I know, Pete. I'm mad about it too. It puts a real damper on the morning group ride. I think it's gonna be an afternoon swim. At the moment, when in doubt, swim it out. More miles is never a bad thing when training for a marathon anything. Anyone else feel that when I walk in here, it's like an episode of Groundhog Day? Halfway done. Well, swimming for breakfast, swimming for lunch, swimming for supper, for a late night snack, swimming. This week of high volume is going a little bit better than last week of high volume, so that's a positive. Take that as a win. Things are getting better. All right, ladies and germs, seeing as how it's a snow day outside and I don't have a whole lot of motivation to be anywhere besides that couch, I thought that we would do something very indoorsy today. So I present you with my running shoe collection and why I select all of these running shoes. So over the past 12 months, I've had the On Running Clouds, the Newton Distance 5s, the GoMeb Razors, the GoRun 5s. I raced in these in Campeche, the GoMeb Speed 4s, and the Hoka Clifton 3s. The premise on all of these running shoes is basically the same. So using the running shoe that I'm using for most of my training right now as an example, it's really nice and light. I think this only weighs 7.5 ounces. The heel to toe drop is, I think, about 4 millimeters. It's fairly roomy in the toe box. I don't feel like I'm really squished up there. I would prefer if this were a little bit airier so that my feet could breathe a little bit better, but it's very comfortable barefoot. It's very flexible. And the biggest thing that I like about this, as I like all of these shoes, is that the sole has a little bit of pop off the ground. Like, it's not really squishy or stiff. It's got a bit of a spring. I originally got into the concept of having spring in your shoes from the Newton Distance lineup. I think that this is probably the 6th pair of Newton Distance runners that I've used, and I've loved every one of them. Maybe not the 4s or the 3s. But I find that that pop off the ground when you land and get off the ground is really good for promoting a running stride where you land on the mid or the forefoot and you get off the ground quickly. Your ground contact time isn't that high. I found that immensely beneficial for increasing my speed, reducing injury, running with less pounding so that I can run for longer periods of time and not feel like my body is just totally beaten up. And it's those types of features that I look for in all of my shoes. So even though these are all different makes, different models, the premise behind all of them is the same. Even between this really light 6 ounce, basically a racing flat GoMeb Speed 4, and these ginormous, like 22 millimeter heel. So these have basically the same premise. There's a little bit more cushion in this. These are a fair bit lighter for road racing, but they serve a lot of the same functions. On top of the head, first impressions about each one of these shoes. The Hokas, very good for people that want a lot of cushioning. They aren't doing really high speeds or track work. While they do work for that, I use them for that. It wasn't my most favorite shoe for the high speed track intense workout, because as you're coming around a track one way or another, it just kind of felt like there was a little bit too much going on. But for your bread and butter long runs, your training runs where you don't want to get beat up, very good. These also last a really long time, so very good bang for your buck. The GoMeb Speed 4s are a racing flat. I only really use them for track work, intensity work on the treadmill, maybe a race of like 5-10 kilometers or even a half marathon. I wouldn't use them for a ton of training because they are really aggressive, and unless you have a very light, efficient running stride, gonna be very tough on your body. That said, they've got a really nice pop, and as far as racing flats go, these are probably some of the nicest balance of racing flat versus cushioning. The GoRun 5s, I loved these. I trained in these and I raced in these coming into Campeche. Very light, very comfortable. As far as transition goes, they've got a nice little thing on the heel that you can snap it onto your foot easily. I was a huge fan of these. They didn't breathe nearly as much as I wanted them to, so my foot got a little bit stanky, but big fan. The GoMeb Razors, frankly, I'm not sure why these exist in addition to these. Basically the same shoe. These are a touch heavier. They don't have the heel loop. Seriously, not sure why they exist. I like these, I like these. Oh, and as far as all of the Skechers go, they're really cheap. They're only about $100 or $110, but they don't last long. But as far as like dollar per mile go, they're very good because they are so cheap, even though they wear down easily. I think it works out well. The Newton Distance. If you want to get into a really encouraging shoe as far as getting on the front of your foot and working on improving your running stride, I would recommend the Newton Distance or the Newton Elite. There's a lot of Newton shoes that they're all built on the same premise, that they've got these lugs on the front of the foot that encourage you to have that really poppy stride, up your cadence, up your speed. This is the shoe that took me from being a 152, 54 half marathoner down to low 130s, and eventually I think this was the shoe that I raced a sub 130 in last year. But the last thing about the Newton Distance is that I find that it doesn't last long, maybe in between 200 and 300 kilometers. Probably the most expensive of all these shoes as far as dollar per mile. And the On Running Cloud. These are probably some of my favorite all-around shoes. Really light, really responsive. These clouds that you run on, they don't have a very intense pop, but they're also not squishy. Like, it just feels like you're running on a nice, stable platform that is well cushioned. Biggest complaints? The laces suck. Yeah, they just outright suck. And you get gravel in the shoes anytime you go over gravel, like literally anytime. Either it ends up in that track or it ends up in one of the pods. But if you're running on roads exclusively and you're looking for a shoe that you can use for speed work, track work, tempo runs, long runs, you can even use them in triathlons. You throw a pair of elastic laces on there, awesome. Okay, now as far as what I would recommend to everyone else, if you're looking for a very beefed up, burly shoe that's gonna last a long time, the Cliftons. If you're looking for a racing flat, something like I always get the GoMeb Speed 4s or the Newton Distances. If you are looking for something that stands out from the crowd and is a really good all-around shoe, I'd go with the Ons. I would say though that my favorite, best all-around running shoe right now for long runs, short runs, speed work, racing, trails, anything, is probably the GoRun 5s. I loved these shoes. These were my go-tos in the 2 months leading up to Ironman Campeche. So there you go. Those are all the shoes that have been in my running rotation for the past year. If there's any questions about these shoes or any other shoes, because I've tried quite a few over the last couple of years, hit me up in the comments below. But I think that of these shoes, there's probably something out there for every single one of you Trainiacs. All right, Kim and I are gonna go out for a dinner, movie, I don't know, date night, something. Oh, I'm still so sore.